This hour brought to you by Feldman Geospatial. They get it right from the ground up at feldmangeo.com.
This is WEEI Late Night with KJ Carson on WEEI.
I have to say, I am genuinely thrilled to be able to say that Major League Baseball's back and we're going to play 162 games. I do want to start by apologizing to our fans. I know that the last few months have been difficult. There's a lot of uncertainty. At a point in time when there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, sort of the way the process of collective bargaining works sometimes, but I do apologize for it.
Baseball, I gotta have it. Late night, WEEI, it's KJ. Thank you so much for spending your Thursday with us here. Still to come, I'm going to tell you how you can win Red Sox tickets almost over an entire 12-hour span from WEEI. I'll tell you about that here in 30 minutes because baseball is back. Tickets to opening weekend, Justin. How do we sneak in to the promotions office and grab ourselves a pair?
We got to figure out some way to do it because I would love to be there.
And we have the sweet seats too, man. Like, whew.
I know. I haven't been up there yet. I need to make my way there.
Oh, brother, I'll share with you in a little bit. That was Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred, or most people who thought of him as the Joker, who had a bad backswing, saying, "Look, he apologizes for what players have gone through. I mean, what fans have gone through, and just the whole process. It almost now makes it seem like those smiles and smirks were that they knew they would get a deal done, and all 162 games are intact. Suddenly, they're back." This whole situation that happened, it may be better for the game of baseball more so than any other strikes that have happened in the past. Just follow me. Now, in this era of social media that we're in, emotions are worn on people's sleeves so much more. So if they're angry, they're really angry. And if there's a makeup, oh, it's like a love affair all over again, and people are hugging and kumbaya. And that's kind of the energy the season needs, even if there wasn't a strike. Beyond just opening weekend, beyond just, the opening months for some teams who, fall apart. And I'll get into some of the minutia here in a little bit about how now some of these middle section teams can now spend more and compete at a decent number. And good for a lot of these players who are now, who've seen their minimum salary go up almost $200,000. Here's why that's good for baseball, because you couldn't tell if there might have been someone who was totally exceptional getting just above the minimum and someone who was completely bad and was getting the minimum. So now this allows for those completely bad guys to start washing out. You might start seeing more veterans come in. My favorite part is the DHs in both leagues now. Now, I grew up a purist, loving National League Baseball, making sure that a pitcher could lay down a bunt or a surprise hit, but now what the sport needs is offense as much as it can get. At about 10:15, I'll tell you how that might be bad news if you wanted Kyle Schwarber back here, because his options just got big, really big. But here's Jeff Passan saying, look, everybody, including the owners, benefit from baseball coming back now.
Kevin, you win. Shay wins. Tim wins. The guy who hacked me today wins. But the fans especially are the ones who win. And they're the ones who win because they get to see Major League Baseball. Now, I think the players are winners too, frankly. The jump from $210 million to $230 in the first year and $244 million in the last year of the CBT, it's big. The raise in minimum salary, big. The pre-arbitration bonus pool that didn't exist and is now $50 million a year, big. And frankly, the league wins too, because the system that has been in place that has allowed these teams' franchise values to increase as much as they have remains in place without significant changes. So the financial structure is the same, the players are getting more, and baseball is back. I think the honest answer here is we're all winners today.
Yeah, someone was a winner with Jeff Passan's Twitter account today. Did you see that, Justin?
The pitcher and the header were hysterical on that.
Yeah, but that's kind of dangerous though, because that just shows you how. Okay, so back to baseball. As much as I've gotten on the people who are deep into the analytics, who I think have somewhat kind of soiled the game over the last decade and a half, where just counting up numbers and not getting into the intricacies of the game, like have you ever watched like Bad News Bears, the first one? You know, like that's not an analytics movie. You know, you put the kid in to get hit by a pitch, you old school Don Baylor him. But I think this is now that opportunity for everybody who's been punching a bunch of numbers to start paying attention to players, the game, the playoff system, which is a smart deal because, look, Seattle was probably one of the most exciting teams down the wire at the end of last year, and they would have been the sixth team in the playoff. Now, some people say, well, what's the use of adding more teams? Well, hey, you should be really mad if your team blows away everybody for 162 and then gets done in like the Oakland A's did in 89, 90 by the Reds. Like, what do you mean? They were supposed to be the best team. Hey, you lose 4 games, you lose 4 games. That's part of the excitement of it. So now I have something for the purists as well, because I've gotten on the analytics bill. I have to get on the purist people as well. There got to be some things you let go. Yes, there's going to be a DH in St. Louis. Yes, there's going to be a DH playing for Pittsburgh. But you know what? That means another bat that stays around. And going back to the old adage, chicks dig the long ball. So if you're someone like Nelson Cruz, who's almost, I think, maybe 41 years old, there is now an open market for you that was just closed to just the American League before. So here's bad guy Manfred, who I think in some regards, people are kind of like, oh, well, you know, Rob isn't so bad. I mean, they did get it done. Okay, you still hate him. Here's where he thinks baseball is going and what the changes have been good.
Looking forward, I could not be more excited about the future of our game. I think we have an opportunity in front of us. I think it's an opportunity that we need to work with the players to fully seize. But I think that some of the things in the agreement are really, really important in that regard. I think the expanded playoff format will bring postseason baseball and maybe even more importantly, exciting September baseball to more markets. I think the balanced schedule will be a real improvement for our fans. It'll give our fans a greater opportunity to see all of the great players in the game on a more regular basis. And maybe most important is the agreement that we reached with the MLB-PA on rule changes.
Yeah, the rule changes, what have it set up is like 4 players, 6 more members, an umpire or 2, and they'll all sit together and kind of hash out the pitch count, the pitch clock, the larger bases, the defensive setups, but those are for 2023. So some things are still intact this year that, you saw last year. And that's okay because some changes don't necessarily have to take place right away. The biggest difference is these things can start being addressed within 2 months of once the CBA, which was the CBA was just signed tonight. So they can start working on that sooner than where in the past it's been later. Let me get back to the playoff baseball situation here for a second. What's going to make baseball successful again is for places like Cincinnati and Pittsburgh and Baltimore, who knows, for those places, and this is what Rob Manfred was just saying, for those places to still have people actively buying tickets at the end of the season. Like at the end of last year, I was joking when the Sox had the series. Justin, you may remember where they had the Baltimore series and they went to the Nationals right after that. I was joking like, hey, look, New England, you've got money. You can spend $6 on 2 game tickets. Take a trip. That would be the cheapest thing. Your tickets would be cheaper than your day of meals.
Right, and that was at the end of the season, right?
And at the end of the season,
because that was the series they needed to win against
right,
the
that's
Nationals.
the series of Nationals where Rafi hits that home run, that seed on a 2-strike count, and changes the trajectory really for the Sox and all that momentum into the playoffs. So imagine if that place still has people actively going to those games. Now, it may be cool that you could fly down to D.C., go hang out, buy cheap baseball tickets. But that's not what those organizations want to see towards the end. Because keep in mind, September 1st is still technically the summer. So the last thing you want to do is have nobody coming to see the Boys of Summer anymore. So take the extra 2 playoff teams because that's 2 more cities. Think about it. The Mets would have gotten in, or I think Cincinnati would have gotten in. But no, I think the Mets would have gotten a chance to get in. They would have been closer. And you want to have larger market teams in the mix in the playoffs because that gives teams more opportunities to make local television money, deals, merchandise, the whole nine. It's a big business. It has to be. I love it as a fan, but I've also worked in venture capital. I can tell when something is a jobs program and something is actually really a job. And so Major League Baseball won today. Now the fans have to be a little more realistic. Know that Carlos Correa probably isn't coming to the Red Sox. What, he's going to play short and Bogey's going to play short in the grass? No. I'll get into some of those here shortly here on WEEI. Also still to come, Wrestle Madness at 10:45. We had an upset the other night, Justin.
We did a big one. A big one.
I actually thought I was here last night, but I had last night off. But yeah, so another number 1 seed goes up against the legend tonight. Best microphone promo skills. That's at 10:45. Wrestle Madness. You guys have made this tremendous. 617-779-7937. The text line is 37937. It's KJ Late Night here on WEEI. So you've heard about the CBT. Every time I hear them say CBT, I'm like CBD, but they're saying CBT. Is that, yeah, man, hang out in the Berkshires. Look, there's more room for the Red Sox to spend. And for those who've made, and just tell me if you think that the Red Sox are going to change their ways or it's going to be the same. Because people say, well, the Red Sox do spend, but all the money has been spent on people who were here before Heim. Sale, Bogey, JD, Valdi, Rafi's getting close to his money. But just those first 4 names I mentioned right there, that's $100 million out of 148 last year. So it's not so much that Heim has spent all this new money. It's like, hey, you now have new money to spend. Are you going to do it? You think Heim would do it? 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. All right, we'll talk more baseball. We'll hear more from Rob Manfred next. But right now, it is time to trend.
The home for Sox fans.
Now, here's what's trending on WEEI.
Trending now on WEEI and WEEI.com. The big story today, the lockout is over. The League and the Players Association reached a tentative agreement on a new CBA, ending a 99-day lockout. They